democracy, and so much more. MartyLeeds33.com. You were listening to the Marty Leeds Mathemagical Radio Hour. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Today, we're going to talk about the redeclaration of our independence. My name is Marty Leeds. I'm an author, a podcast host, a documentarian, a preacher of the mysteries, and a teacher of the heart, farmer. Do a lot of things. Kind of a controversial figure to some. There's a lot of people out there that really, really love what it is I do, and there's a lot of people out there that don't like what I do. But today is not going to be about me at all. Today is going to be about us. Today is going to be about we the people. And so today we're going to talk about redeclaring our independence. You are free to mirror this video as you so choose. If you want to mirror it, post it wherever you want to post it, just so everybody knows. When this video is done, I plan tomorrow night, I believe, to just edit this down into something more palatable. I want to do the live stream because just for my audience here, and I want to go over a bunch of things. But I would like to eventually edit this video down to something short. We're going to cover a lot of important things today, okay? Just a little note. When this video goes up, in the comments section below, I will accept, this is important, in the comments section below, I will accept no comments. Not one. Every comment that does not say yay or nay will be deleted, okay? So all the comments on this video, this is important, all the comments, if it says anything besides yay or nay, it will be deleted in this video and this video alone. And you'll understand why when we get to the end of this video, okay? Before I move on, I want to just make sure that everybody can hear me. Got 117 watching on YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. I really appreciate it. No white t-shirt today, Andrew Harris, no. We've got a Truth Matters shirt on today because truth does matter. Thank you all for showing up. Welcome everybody on D Live. I'm going to try to make this as fluid as I possibly can. We've got a lot of information to cover today, okay? Let's start off with the Declaration of Independence. This comes from the Declaration of Independence. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected with them with another, and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such a government, and to provide new guards for their future security. That comes from the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to start this live stream with a little story. My wife and I, if I can even get through this. My wife and I went to this little place in Pahoa. We live on the Big Island of Hawaii. My wife and I went to this. We go to this little restaurant called Pele's Kitchen in Pahoa. It's a great, Pahoa is just this sleepy little sort of hippie town in the middle of the Big Island here. And there's this place called Pele's Kitchen. They serve a great breakfast. They've been open for a very long time. Jennifer likes to go there and get the Waikoloa scramble. I just went there the other day and got the chicken fried steak. I don't usually order chicken fried steak, but you know what? It was all extremely good. So they got vegan, vegetarian, herbivore, carnivore options for everybody. If you get a chance, stop on down to Pele's Kitchen if you come to the Big Island. Show them your support. Pele's Kitchen likes to support local businesses. They like to get their honey from local businesses. They try to get their produce from local businesses. They sell local, marmalades and jams and things like that. Great place. Now, Pele's Kitchen used to just be open for breakfast. So the only time you could go to Pele's Kitchen was at breakfast. But now they're open for breakfast and dinner. And the reason that they're open for breakfast and dinner is because the person that owns the business has to have a evening menu, have a dinner menu, because he's not making ends meet because of the restrictions of COVID. And so a guy, people that normally just have their place open for breakfast and do just fine and, pay their bills and everything like that. Now this guy is opened in the morning and in the evening. Now, Jennifer and I went there in the evening, had dinner with a few friends. And we went in there and, the reason you go out to dinner is you want to, let loose a little bit, have some nice conversation with friends, that sort of thing. We went to dinner and had dinner there. And I came home and I was very angry. I was depressed. I was on the verge of crying, if I maybe even cried. Okay, well, why? Why? You just went out to dinner. I mean, you just had, you just went and had your nice little plate of nachos, and your little cup of tea there, right? Well, the owner of Pele's Kitchen came up to us and was talking with us at the table because he knew the people that we were having dinner with, and he was in shambles. He was full of anxiety. He felt terrorized. He was intimidated. He was literally shaking. And he was telling us that these new guidelines and restrictions are going to bury his business. He actually, in order to just stay afloat, he actually went outside and cut this whole area outside of his business and put up new tables that were 6 feet apart just so they could get more people in there, just so they could stay alive. So the guy that came up, he's like, look, they're telling us everybody that's working there is quarantined. Every time they come in, I have to take their temperature and report it to the authorities. He had police officers. He's telling us this while we're having dinner, and he's shaking. He's saying, well, these police officers came in, and they threatened and intimidated me, and they said, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to shut your business down, and we're going to give you a $1,000 fine for every single person that's in here. Now, I just wanted to go and get some chicken fried steak. I just wanted to go and have a plate of nachos. And what I saw was absolute terrorism. I saw the terror in this man's eyes. Now, he doesn't know if he's going to be able to stay open. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to keep his business open, because there might be a second wave coming. After I left the restaurant that night, I knew that I didn't know what to do. And he didn't know what to do. And everybody I know doesn't know what to do. And they're scared. And they're pissed off. And I left that restaurant that evening saying, well, good men can't just sit back and do nothing. So today is me trying to do something. And this is for we the people. We the people of these. We the people. That's all I need to say. This is for we the people. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. And so what I would like, well, I'll just say this. If you find this video informative and enlightening and educational, then I implore you to spread this video everywhere you can. Tomorrow on Independence Day. Today, tomorrow. Okay? Because we're supposed to be celebrating our independence. This whole thing started with a little thing called COVID-19, as you all know. Now, there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that aren't buying the narratives and what we're told about this deadly virus. We're not buying it. And we are, as we're going to find out today, we are completely in the right not to buy this, not to believe any of it. We can see this for exactly what it is. Now, there are other people that might think on the contrary. There are other people that might be, I believe in COVID and I disagree with you. Well, you're in the right to do that. And I'm in the right to think, to call this out for exactly what we think it is. A whole big pile of BS. Now, if you've been on YouTube and a lot of other social media platforms and things like that, you can see, like I'm sure if you look at some Facebook pages and things like that, you're going to see that a lot of people are not buying this. They're seeing the direction, they're listening to what the news media is telling them and what their governors and their mayors are telling them, and even what some people in the medical industry are telling them, and they're not buying it. And they're voicing their opinion, and their voices are not being heard. You can go and just scroll through any of the recent contemporary news, blips or articles and things like that, and look at the likes to dislikes. 581 to 642, 1.3 thousand to 1.4 thousand. It doesn't matter where you go. You can go to CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox News, Bloomberg Markets and Finance, Face the Nation. Coronavirus resurges as America eases into reopenings. 556 likes to 606 dislikes. I almost said 666. We'll get to that. 53 likes to 163 dislikes. Officials concerned over increase in coronavirus cases. There's a lot of people that are not buying this, and they have a right not to buy this, as we're going to find out today. 1.1 thousand likes to 2.3 thousand dislikes. You could say 50% of the population aren't buying it. You could say actually a lot more if you look at today here. Lots of people are not buying this, and they have the right not to buy this, not to envelop and embrace this narrative. They have the right, as we're going to find out today. As we're going to see is that the medical industry is going, well, I should say the governments and the local state fed and the medical industry and all the news and everything like that, they're pushing this COVID thing as it's an absolute reality. It's a fact. I don't think so. I'm calling BS. I don't believe in this whatsoever, at least what they're telling us about it. As we can see, there's psychologists push to classify individuals resisting coronavirus edicts as mentally ill. Is coronavirus, is it a theory or is it a theorem? Has it been absolutely 100% proven? Can I, myself, go and isolate COVID in my own little laboratory? Just some questions. But we do have bills being pushed as if it's an absolute fact. This is HB 2502 SD1, and this is a new law that's being passed that's being proposed, I should say, in the Hawaiian State legislature here. Excuse me. It says here that this bill would allow the Department of Health to declare emergencies for anything claimed to be a threat or imminent danger for unlimited successive 90-day periods. Under the veil of emergency, they would be allowed to require testing, tracking, sharing of your private medical records, quarantine, isolation, and provide treatment or other actions deemed necessary, which many people believe is a vaccine, to individuals or groups they feel pose a threat, including all travelers, inter-island, foreign, and domestic. So here is a law that they're looking at passing, which is not a law at all. Even if this passes, it's not a law, guys, as we're going to find out today. It doesn't matter what they sign up in Washington, whether that's, or the state legislature here in the Hawaii. It doesn't matter if they pass this into law because it's not law, as we're going to find out today. Now, there's lots of things happening within our the economy and small businesses and things like that where in this country where our civil liberties are being stripped away. That states are literally telling you to quarantine yourself. Hole yourself up in your home. New York area self-quarantine order grows to visitors from 16 states. Californians ordered to quarantine if traveling to New York area. If you go to the airport now, let's see, I think I have this in the wrong order here. In Hawaii here, there's a mandatory 14-day quarantine for all arriving passengers because of COVID-19. And it's a statewide order by Governor David Ige. You must self-quarantine for 14 days if you arrived in Hawaii after March 26, 2020. Beginning August 1st, individuals are required to get valid COVID-19 testing within 72 hours prior to trip and show proof of negative result to avoid this 14-day quarantine. So unless you go through the medical establishment that they prescribe by Governor Ige and all this other, if you don't go through that, you're gonna have to self-quarantine. You're gonna have to hole yourself up in your apartment Can you go to the grocery store? I don't know. Do you have enough food for 14 days? It doesn't, the governor or, any of the state legislators, they haven't really made that clear at all. They just said you have to quarantine. Now, if you go to the airport, like I said, go to the airport. Once travelers get to Hawaii Airport, they will have to show proof they completed their form and provide identification. After that, they will be expected to check in daily during their mandatory 14-day quarantine. So not only will you be quarantined, you'll be expected to check into the government. Visitors will be required to self-quarantine in their accommodations and residents in their homes, but they may leave for medical emergencies. Can you leave for food? I would consider that's a medical emergency. So if you have to go out and you want to go to dinner, if you don't eat dinner, that's kind of a medical emergency, right? I mean, the law, the quote-unquote law, pretty foggy. And that's what's intended. After landing, you will have to have your temperature taken. Anyone with a high temperature will receive a medical assessment by paramedics stationed at the airport. So now you're being forced, if you go to the airport and want to fly, that you'll have to be forced into their medical procedures. And we're going to see why this is completely unlawful and against your rights. If you have to sign this, I will just say this. Sign via coactus. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but VC is used with a signature to indicate that a signer was under duress. So if you go to the airport and it says, hey, this is an order. This is an order from Governor Ige, and it's an official document that you have to sign. It literally has his name on it, State of Hawaii stamped approval. It's an order for self-quarantine. If you go to the airport, they're going to force you to sign this. If you want to fly, they're going to, you can't fly if you don't sign this. And you are signing away your rights. Of course, you can't even do that, by the way, as we'll find out today, for an order. Well, if you ever have to sign this, sign it under duress. Don't board that plane and sign that document, because that's an order from a governor. That's not law, as we're going to find out today. Now, we have contact tracing coming into works here. This is obviously something that they're working on, contact tracing, where they're going to follow you and track and trace you. And just as you said, you're going to have to daily report to the government, just like my friend down at Pele's Kitchen had to do with his employees. He has to take their temperature and report to the government. And if they say, all they have to do is go like this, and they can shut that business down. Say, whoops, sorry. As everybody knows, this is the trajectory. This is the course of where all this is going. Just a few more. Let's watch Ammon Bundy here, okay?
For people who finally won't comply, they're going to have to comply eventually. No one's looking to make this a federal crime. The reason we can do the contact tracing is twofold. Number one, we've stood up an army, so to speak, and we now have 1,391 people who on just a couple days' notice can be available to do what's necessary to do this contact tracing. As far as refusal, it just shouldn't come to that, and it really hasn't. And that would be legally enforceable. We would make sure that people know the seriousness of that issue. It's one of the reasons I'm glad we have the Guard, who are very disciplined and follow orders.
The 116th Congress, that's our Congress right now in Washington, D.C., is proposing a bill. And it is H.R., again, it's hard to believe, but it's H.R. 6666. Now I'm going to read you the description at the very first paragraph of this bill. H.R. 6666. To authorize the Secretary of Health and Human Services to award grants to eligible entities to conduct diagnostic testing for COVID-19 and related activities such as contact tracing through mobile health units and as necessary at individuals' residence and for other purposes. I really wish that I was making this up. I really wish that I was making this up.
No, he is not making this up. That's a law where they're going to hire an army to track and trace you, as we all know. The bill is actually called, and you can look this up, yes, and many people know this. I know this is not new information for many, but it's 6666. Mothers could be separated from their newborns under coronavirus guidelines. The government thinks that they have the authority to strip you away from your child at birth because of an alleged COVID virus that more than half the population, at least according to everything I'm seeing on YouTube, doesn't even believe in. As many people know, there are quarantine stations being set up right now. Probably have been being set up for quite a long time, as we know. These just didn't pop up out of anywhere, out of just nothingness. Ammon Bundy was even saying that they were, and that he even read it through it, that they were setting up quarantine stations to take children and put them in a quarantine center. Now you can say, well, it wasn't really a quarantine center. It's this verbiage here. We know what it is. We know exactly what it is. You're gonna take children from their parents. This is what school looks like next year. Absolute nightmare. Kids, I have some friends that actually work in the school district here in Hawaii. They work with like autistic kids and kids that have like learning disabilities and that sort of stuff, and it looks like an absolute nightmare. They wanted to cry. They were looking at it as like, it's 6 feet apart. It's wearing masks all day. You have to stay in the same classroom. There's not going to be any lunch. There's going to be no recess, no extracurricular activities, everything. Of course, the stores are following, as you all know, right in line with this, social distancing guidelines, general distancing. This comes from Cost You Less, a little store right in town here. General distancing. There's no fist bumps. Don't shake any hands. Don't hug. Don't do any cooler gossip. Don't talk to anybody. Use public transportation. Avoid crowded lunchrooms. What many people think this is tyranny done under a public health scare. Now, there's a lot of people that believe that that's not true, that would listen to this and be like, well, Marty Leeds, you're just some crazy conspiracy theorist or something. Well, that's your right to believe that. And that's fine. I support your right to believe that I'm crazy. I'll fight and defend for it. I will fight and defend for your right to think that I'm nuts. But you and nobody has the right to tell me how to take care of my health. As far as we can see, as far as many people believe, this is absolute government control and tyranny done under a public health scare. And they're making the businesses and everybody comply to it against their will, against their rights, and against the law, as we're going to find out. Your rights. And a lot of people believe that the government is just trying to find new ways to terrorize us.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Well said, George Bush. It seems like this country never finds new ways to not terrorize us. I have been living on this plane of existence for 41 years, and I've been paying attention to politics since I was about 16, 17 years old, something like that, maybe even before that. And the only thing I've ever seen is this country, the situation, everything fall to deterioration. That our rights, our inherent liberties and freedoms are being whittled away year after year after year. And it don't matter if it's Republican, if it's Democrat, it doesn't matter. All I've seen is a steady downhill, and now it's even exponentiating. That snowball is getting really, really big. It seems like the governments of the world never cease to find new ways to terrorize us. Couldn't agree more. Now, the CDC protects and prepares communities for the coronavirus. And everybody thinks that we have to follow the guidelines and rules and regulations from the CDC. Does the CDC control my health? How long has the CDC been living in my body? I've been living in my body for 41 years. How long has anybody at the CDC been living in my body? Yet, all these restaurants and big chain retailers and everybody is following CDC guidelines. The CDC is not even part, if you will, is not even, at least constitutionally, part of the federal government at all. At all. It's a private business. So if private businesses start enforcing guidelines and restrictions and rules upon the employees, they're enforcing guidelines and restrictions from a private company. Now, we know this. You say, well, no, that's not true. No, it's absolutely true. Because the CDC is defined as an agency of the government. Legislative definition, this literally comes from Wikipedia. You don't even have to dig into Black's Law Dictionary to find this stuff. This is literally line 1, page 1 of the Wikipedia entry on what an agency of the government is. And the CDC is an agency. Legislative definitions of a federal agency are varied and even contradictory. And the official United States government manual offers no definition. It even goes on to say that these further cloud attempts to enumerate a list of anyway, there's so many agencies of the government, and the government, United States government manual doesn't even define what an agency is. Yet this agency, that's a private company, is deciding the guidelines for your business and your home and your health. Who controls your health? You do. You are in control of your health. And God actually has commanded that, as we're going to find out. The word health comes from Old English, and it's wholeness or being whole, sound or well. In fact, in Old Norse, it comes from Helge, which means holy or to heal. Holy literally means sacred, divine, or hallowed. So your health, according to the etymology, comes from wholeness, of being whole. I don't know if you know this, but the definitions of God, one of them is wholeness, oneness, unity, totality. Old English wholeness of being whole, sound, or well. Also comes from the Old Norse Helge, which means holy or sacred. Your health. And how you manage your own health is intimately part of your religious beliefs. It's an intimate part of your spirituality, as we're going to come to find. Now, right now, we're being told that we have to, right? We're being ordered to wear masks everywhere. You go out in public, you're going to a restaurant or a grocery store, whatever it is, you're supposed to wear masks. Now, for me, this is actually a direct detriment to my health because I've had breathing issues for a very long time. I have a long medical history of being on multiple inhalers. Funny thing is I stopped using those inhalers and I weaned myself off of them. You know why? Because I realized that the inhalers that the doctors were prescribing me for my health and my breathing had acetone in them. For years, I was inhaling acetone. Do you guys know how toxic acetone is? So I stopped using them and I weaned myself off of them. And now I haven't used an inhaler in years. But if I went to the doctor and I said I had breathing problems, the doctor said, well, here, oh, this inhaler doesn't work, this albuterol doesn't work, oh, here's a Proventil inhaler. Use both of them. Spirit, in Latin, means to breathe. Comes from spiritus. Spirit is the animating or vital principle in man and animals. So your spirit is the animating or vital. Your spirit is vital to your being, in other words. It's the vital principle in man or animals. Comes directly from Latin spiritus, a breathing, respiration of the wind, breath, the breath of God. Hence, inspiration, breath of life. Hence, life. Vigor, all of that sort of stuff. Your breathing, as we all know, is directly connected to your health. Directly. By the etymology, by the medical standards, all of it. Spiritus, spirit comes from spiritus, spirit, breath, wind, person, soul, mind, heart, purpose, feeling, vigor, vitality, life. Spirit in Latin means to breathe. Now, you could say, well, you're making this connection to spirit and breathing, and you're probably going to say that you have a religious right not to wear a mask. And that's exactly what I'm going to say. Well, the science says otherwise. This is what I'll say this. This is what Carl Sagan said. Mr. Science himself. Now, I don't really like Carl Sagan, and I've read Carl Sagan. I read Billions and Billions and Cosmos and Science is Science is a Candle in the Dark, The Demon Haunted World. I read all those. So I know Carl Sagan. Not that big of a fan, but that's just my right and my opinion. Spirit comes from the Latin word to breathe. This comes from Demon Haunted World, Science is a Candle in the Dark. What we breathe is air, which is certainly matter, however thin. Despite usage to the contrary, there is no necessary implication in the word spiritual that we are talking of anything other than matter. Okay, that's fine by me. So you're talking about my spirit is my material vessel. Okay, good. Good to know. And who's in control of that spiritual vessel? Who's in control of the health of that? You are. Spiritual is nothing or anything outside the realm of science. On occasion, I will feel free to use the word spiritual, spirit. Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. The notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive does a disservice to both. So even Mr. Science himself, Carl Sagan, author, host of Cosmos, even Mr. Science himself says spirituality and science, they're like this. They're like two peas in a little pod. And I agree with them. Once again, that comes from Mr. Carl Sagan. My religion, now you might not believe in my religion. You might believe, I'm a Christian. And so my holy book is the Holy Bible. That's where I go for inspiration. That's where I go to understand my faith. That's where I go to understand my spirituality. I have dedicated my entire life to teaching God to people. That means when I go to sleep, my entire life is spiritual. When I wake up, my whole day is spiritual. I dedicate myself to God. My personal constitution is to love everyone. And I uphold the God-given rights that he has given us and me. I'm a spiritual being. Everything I do, everywhere I go, every step, every breath from my lungs is spiritual. And even my book says, now you may not believe in this book, and that's fine. That's your right to believe that. You can believe whatever you want, and you have the right to do that. And like I said, I'll defend your right to have your beliefs. It says in Genesis 2:7, it says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." God himself, in my holy book, says that he took his essence and breathed it right here, right into the nostrils. And man, meaning you and me and everybody on the face of this earth, became a living soul from the breath of life of God. That's in my cosmology. That's my cosmogony. This is Genesis 2:7. The Lord God formed me out of the dust of the ground and breathed into my nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. So, in other words, not only is my breath, my inhale and my exhale, every part of that is part of my, not only my physical vitality, but my spiritual vitality as well. It is declared in my holy book. God breathed the breath of life into me, and I became a living soul. Now, when we talk about spirit in Latin means to breathe, spirit and soul are almost interchangeable. It even says the breath of life. That's spiritus, by very definition, by the etymology, everything. Now, some of these governors want to say, oh, you know those nostrils that God breathed the breath of life into and made you a living soul? You're going to want to cover that up. And put that right over here. Let's do this here, like that. Governor Tony Evers, my family's from Wisconsin. I'm originally from Wisconsin. He's the governor of Wisconsin. The only thing wearing a mask says about you is that you care about other people. My mask protects you and your mask protects me. That's your opinion. And it's your right to believe that, but I don't believe that at all. I think that's a bunch of BS. Let's continue to work together to keep our communities healthy and safe. Now that one I agree with. Governor Tony Evers. Let's continue to work together to keep our communities healthy and safe. Wash your hands before putting on your face mask or covering. Put it over your nose and mouth and secure it under your chin. A governor is putting an order that says, you know, that vitalness, the spirit, the breath of life that God breathed into those nostrils that gives you your life, your spiritual and your physical life. Cover that up. And if you don't, might put you in a cell, might quarantine you, might give you thousands and thousands of dollars of fines if you don't cover that mouth up that breathes in your spirit that's given to you by who? Well, me and the people that are watching this know exactly where that comes from. Do you guys know who Wim Hof is? Now, Wim Hof is he's a badass mofo is what Wim Hof is. Wim Hof is a personal hero of mine, honestly. Wim Hof is a man that he developed his own, basically his own spiritual, physical, and spiritual practice of making himself healthy, keeping himself of like perfect health. And you know what he does? He focuses on breathing. His whole practice is immersion in cold water and focus on breath. He does a whole routine of it every morning. It's like a 45 hour routine every morning where he goes, that's it. That's it. That's all he does. Now, Wim Hof has been able, simply by immersing himself in cold water and focusing on his breath of life that God gave him, Wim Hof has been able to do literally, and I mean this in every sense of the term, literally superhuman things. Wim Hof participated in a research study where he was injected with an endotoxin, one that was supposed to make you sick within minutes, but using his own breathing method and technique, he was not affected. That's right. Wim Hof gained control over his autonomous nervous system. Wim Hof was injected with literally a disease, and simply by his breath work, literally all he did was focus on his breath, and he didn't get sick. Now you could say, well, Wim Hof, he's just, this like sort of a superhuman, this is sort of anomalous, sort of just like, one of these just like, he's just this sort of superhuman person he's the only person that can do this. Wim Hof taught his technique to other people. They were injected with the same endotoxins and they didn't get sick. How? How did they do this? What magical feat did they do? Did they take a bunch of drugs from the CDC or WHO or the American Medical Association? Did they do any of that stuff? No. They literally beat endotoxins injected into their veins by this. That's it. Now, why is this so important? Because Wim Hof is a man who climbed Mount Everest in his shorts. Wim Hof climbed Mount Everest in his shorts. You all heard me, right? I said that twice just to make sure. That's not some fantasy from Hollywood. This is not some fictional story. This is literally a guy that climbed Mount Everest, I'll say it again, in his shorts. And do you know how he did it? He focused on his breath. That's it. So my question is this. Has Dr. Fauci climbed Mount Everest? Here's a better question. Has anybody at the CDC or WHO, or anybody in the Department of Health here in Hawaii, or even the Department of Health, let's say under Obama or Trump or any of these people, have any of those people climbed Mount Everest? That's the first question. My second question is this. Have any of those people climbed Mount Everest in their shorts? Probably not. Yet these are the very people that are saying that breath of life that God breathed into the nostrils of the human being, that made man a living soul. That breath of life, you're supposed to cover that up, right? The CDC, and who says, has any of those people, I think you get my point. Have anybody, okay, this is what I'll do. Since Wim Hof climbed Mount Everest without a mask on and without his shirt on, and all he did was focus on his breathing, if anybody at the CDC or WHO or the Department of Health, if you climb Mount Everest with a mask on and no shirt, I'll listen to your guidelines. I totally will. If I see somebody from the CDC or WHO and they actually record themselves climbing Mount Everest without a shirt on and a mask on, I'll be the first person to wear that mask all day long. That's a promise. Okay? Funny enough, when I was looking this up, here's the article of Wim Hof talking about how he climbed Mount Everest focusing on his breath work, and right above it was an ad for masks. Now, once again, when people say, well, you're relating your entire spiritual nature to breath. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only does it say it in my holy book, that's exactly what it is. God breathed my essence into me, and that was the breath of life. Not only that, we have Wim Hof here, who's literally a superhuman, climbing Mount Everest and doing all that. He ran a marathon in the middle of the desert without any water, guys. Do you know how he did it? Wim Hof ran a marathon in the middle of the desert without any water. Do you know how he did it? So Wim Hof, Genesis 2:7, do you know that there's a whole pranayama breathing that literally people's entire spiritual self, their entire spiritual practice is based on breath control? Breath awareness, control of the breath flow, directing breath to different parts of the body. Jennifer talks about that all the time. When she's giving me a massage, she says, you got to breathe into this area of the body. She gets on my shit about it. People's entire spiritual makeup is all based on their breath. Mine is, and it's my right to breathe how I want to breathe. Not only that, as DITRH and Sophia Smallstorm did us a huge favor and put this out as a little graphic. It says, wearing a face mask is far more hazardous than the threat of coronavirus. Covering your nose and mouth forces you to inhale carbon dioxide constantly, limiting your oxygen intake. You're literally creating a disability with you. Why? Because you are not able. You're not able to breathe. That's what disable means. You literally, by putting that mask on, you are creating a disability for yourself. Now people say, well, I think you're just taking this to extremes. I've literally been in stores and people that I assume believe in the coronavirus thing, this has been more than once. They go like this, I can't breathe. Yeah, of course, because that mask is creating a disability. Dis meaning unable, it's a negation, and able meaning ability. They can't breathe. And the government's trying to cover up that breath of life that God gave you. Once again, a lot of people, and they have the absolute right to believe this and all of that, they see this as a public health scare done under government tyranny done under a public health scare. And this, apparently this old guy that was really smart, some sort of philosopher guy named Montesquieu, this old guy said this one time. He said, there is no greater tyranny than that which is perpetrated under the shield of law and in the name of justice. This is all done under the shield of law. Shield of law is going to be very important. It's all done under justice. Now, the CDC says that we're still working on all this other stuff, but we know that the vaccine is going to be the right thing, and we know that we're going to need to do these guidelines, and we know that we're going to have to stay 6 feet apart because that's the best thing, and we know that you're going to have to sanitize your hands. We know that you're going to have to quarantine yourself, and we know that you're going to have to shut your business down for health. Are they practicing medicine, or do they know? Is the CDC and WHO and all these people that are allegedly enforcing these guidelines and restrictions and stuff like that, is this all buttoned up? Do they know that this is absolutely the right course of action? No, they don't. You know why? Because no doctor knows the right course of action. Do you know why? Because all doctors practice medicine. That's why it's called a clinic practice, a medical practice. That's why you practice medicine. Because you're always practicing, you're always learning something new. Many years ago, you could actually go and look this up. 2 out of 3 doctors prefer Lucky Strike cigarettes. That's what the medical institution was telling us at one point. The medical institution, when I went to the doctor, they were also saying, oh, you can't breathe? Here's an inhaler. And then when I asked him and I went and looked up what was in it, I said, hey, there's ethanol in this. Or acetone, excuse me. Why is there acetone in this? He's just like, well, it's just for this and this and this. So they were saying that was the best thing for my health. I found out through my own experience that wasn't the best thing for my health. And this is why you and everybody practices medicine. You could go to 8-10 years of medical school and you could open your practice up, your medical practice up for 30 years. And you know what would happen after that 10 years of medical school and the 30 years that you had your practice open? Do you know what you would still be doing after those 40 years? Practicing medicine. The CDC, and WHO, and the United States government, and all these mayors and governors, they're all saying, we're not practicing medicine. Well, we're practicing medicine on the general public, and we're forcing you to undergo this sort of practice. You don't have the right to say no. You want to fly, you're going to have to do this, all this sort of stuff. They're not practicing medicine. They're telling you we know. This is the right thing to do, and we're going to enforce it by orders. We'll get to that. No laws have been passed. And as we're going to find out today, even if our corrupt government, local, state, fed, did pass a law, it would still be unlawful. What do we got with this whole COVID-19 scare? We got some guidelines and we got some ordinances, we got some orders, we got some executive orders. And those executive orders have some emergency proclamations, and on those emergency proclamations are some demands and some new statutes and some regulations. There's some new rules about the regulations, and there's some restrictions on those rules, and there's going to be some decisions made about the guidelines, about the ordinances of the executive orders of you get it, right? There's no law passed. And even the front page of the local newspaper here, the Tribune Herald, is going to inform you of that. Mayor Kim is a Republican mayor, and our governor here is Governor Ige, and he's a Democrat. So, as we can see, this kind of transcends partisan politics. Kim issues a mask order. Kim, just like Governor Ige and just like all these governors across the world and state representatives, all this, they're issuing orders as if they're a king. You will do this! Kim issues a mask order, and on this mask order, there's a new rule that's more strict than the governor's proclamation and includes additional business requirements. So on top of the order, there's a new rule that's more strict than there's a rule of the order, and it's on top of the proclamation, and there's going to be new requirements from that order. I don't see any laws passed here. And once again, even if they did pass a law that says that they can quarantine you or do anything like that, it's completely unlawful. And you are completely in the right to not abide by it. No laws. Guidelines, ordinances, orders, or executive orders, emergency proclamations, demands, statutes, regulations, rules, restrictions, decisions. I ain't seeing any laws here. I follow my rights and laws. And if a law is in contradiction with my rights, I have the right to not follow that law. And the Constitution declares this. This is the law of the land. The general misconception is that any statute passed by legislators bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. The general misconception is that any statute passed by legislators bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. That's a misconception. Said, oh, the governor passed an order and a statute. Said, well, it's law. No, it's not. Even if it appears as law, it's not a law. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement with it. If it's not in agreement with the Constitution of these United States, then it ain't a law. And you are absolutely in your right to not obey that law. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. So, Governor Ige and Mayor and all this other stuff, you're ordering us to proclaim and more rules and requirements about the mandates, and those aren't laws. In fact, they're just the appearance of laws, and they contradict the supreme law of the land, and so therefore, they're null and void. So who writes the rights? Who gives you your rights? God. Now, for all of you people like, well, Marty, this is the first time I've tuned into you, and I know that you're sort of a Christian and everything like that, but you know what? I think that whole God business is just for, I think it's, for the birds, really. I don't really believe in God. I'm an atheist and agnostic. I just believe in nature. Oh, this is for you, too. Don't worry. They reminded you in the Declaration of Independence, where it says here, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. So even if you are an atheist or an agnostic and you don't believe in God, you're still entitled to rights. And we're gonna find out what rights are and rights and privileges are today, okay? This is at 10 o'clock today, 10 a.m., a video will be going live, will be going up on Marty Leeds live here. And it is a video called Michael Badnarek's Constitution Class Complete. And I fully expect all of my students, and this is an order. This is some guidelines and some proclamations and some mandates and some executive orders and some guidelines for all my students. You will watch that class in its entirety. That's what you will be doing. 10 o'clock, the Constitution class, Michael Badnarek's Constitution class, it's a 6-hour class. It will be posted, okay? You're free, and Michael Badnarek has said this too, you're free to mirror that and all that sort of stuff, right? And so in that, you're going to learn about rights and privileges. And what we're going to do is watch just a little clip from that, and then we're going to talk about rights and privileges, okay? The difference between rights and privileges.
So if you are going to stay awake for any information, stay awake for this. If you don't understand this, the rest of the class is basically hot air. A right is defined as a power, privilege, faculty, or demand inherent in one person and incident upon another, generally defined as powers of free action, something that you have the sovereign authority to do because there is no higher authority to get permission from. There's nobody to ask. You've heard the expression, the buck stops here. That means you're it. You make the final decisions. That's what sovereignty is all about. You are endowed by your Creator with certain unalienable rights. You don't have to ask. Now, this is the exact opposite of a privilege. A privilege is defined as a particular and peculiar benefit or advantage enjoyed by a person, company, or class beyond the common advantages of other citizens. A particular right, advantage, exemption, power, franchise, or immunity held by a person or class not generally possessed by others. A temporary authority granted to you by someone of a higher authority.
So that is the difference between a right and a privilege. A right is that which is morally correct, just, or honorable. It is a moral or legal entitlement to have or obtain something or to act in a certain way. A right is something that you are entitled to. You don't have to ask anybody. As Michael Badnarek is saying there, the buck stops here. You don't have to ask anybody for those rights. You don't have to go and beg some king or some despotic freaking whatever queen or parliament member or whatever, president. You don't have to ask anyone for those. They're given to you. They're bequeathed to you. By whom? God. Certain unalienable rights. That's what a right is. So when in the Constitution and we have amendments to the Constitution called, it's the Bill of Rights, right? Amendments to the Constitution. The rights. Okay, and you have certain rights like Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. These are rights. You don't have to ask anybody. Nobody. Not the government. The United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights does not grant you rights. It's not like, oh, I have rights because of this paper right here. Nope. You have rights because God gave them to you. The only thing that this document does here is declares and enumerates them. It's just a friendly reminder. Oh, wait a second. Just so you know, if you're telling me I have to hole up in my house for 14 days, it says, well, you shall not be deprived of life, liberty, or without due process. Oh, you can't, against unreasonable searches and seizures, you can't. These are your rights. The difference between a right and a privilege is a special right. It's an advantage or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. The government doesn't give you rights. The Constitution doesn't give you rights. God gives you rights. Now, with those rights, you can afford privileges to people. Like, for instance, I have a 2019 Chevy Spark here, and if I wanted to grant somebody the privilege to drive my car, I could say, here's my keys. Here, you could drive my car. Now, that's my property, and I'm responsible for that property, but that's a privilege that I'm granting to that person. Do they have the right to come and drive my car? No, because it's mine. Just like your inherent rights. Does the government or me or you or a mayor or anybody, your employer, do they have any right to take away your rights? No, they don't. Now, to keep your rights, go on. We have a lot of laws in America, don't we? A lot of laws. Laws are passed every single day. Congress is always passing laws, and the state's always passing laws about new restrictions and rules and regulatory boards and agencies and things like that. We have so many laws, you can't even read them all. If you sat down today and said, I'm going to read every single law that's just passed in the White House, not in every single state and things like that, not in my, not even in the county thing, I'm going to go to the White House, I'm going to read all the laws that are in the law book. You could not even possibly read them in your entire lifetime, nor could you even understand them. You need constitutional lawyers to figure out what's right and what's wrong, what's legal and what's not legal. So you need a lawyer to go and figure out what's law and what's not. In other words, if in order to figure out whether you're in the law or not, you can't even understand it, according to, a lot of lawyers and things like that. No, you have to take this to a constitutional lawyer and they'll figure out. Well, immediately as soon as that happens, what happens? Where's your liberties? Where are your freedoms? So now you're bound by laws in which you could never possibly read nor even remember. And of course, you're bound by those laws, and yet you've never read them, nor can you understand them, all that sort of stuff. And you say, well, you're not actually bound by all the laws that they pass. Well, how would I know? I don't even have time to read them all. The Patriot Act was passed, and I think the Patriot Act was like 800-page bill, right? And it was passed literally, it was like rushed through Congress overnight, and of course it had all these earmarks, and it had all these like hyperlink things. It was like, well, this is here, and this refers to this law here, and blah, 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 blah. It was passed overnight. It was written, I don't know when. The Congress just passed it. Nobody in Congress read it. Nobody in America read it. I'm sure the majority of people in America did not read it, and yet that became law. So we're now all subjected to laws that we can't even understand. We wouldn't even have time to even read nor remember. The cops that are out every single day enforcing laws, they don't even have the brain capacity to remember all the laws that they're supposed to enforce. So what's happening right now? We are getting constricted and restricted. There's a big web right now that's we're wrapped up in. And it's just keeps going, just more laws, more restrictions, and all of this is to restrict your God-given rights. All of these laws, anymore that are passed, are there to restrict your God-given rights. You couldn't even possibly read them all, remember them all, and yet you're forced to obey these laws. If not, you know what's going to happen? Well, it says here an amendment. Well, let me say this. I work at a local vet, and they said now that if employees at essential businesses are required to wear cloth face mask coverings, you're required to. Requirements, once again, not law. Establishments must limit the number of customers allowed in. They must and keep them 6 feet apart. Anyone who violates those rules, not the laws, the rules, could face a fine up to $5,000 or up to a year in prison if found guilty, according to Hawaii Governor David Ige's order. So, even though my entire physical and spiritual life, every waking moment of my life is in essence dedicated to God, I live and breathe it. The breath of life, Governor Ige is saying you're going to put a mask over that. And if you don't, we're going to fine you $5,000 and up to a year in prison. Of course, all these rules and guidelines and all this stuff, very foggy. A lot of people are like, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I not do this? I don't even know what the law is. Well, this is the same thing we've been talking about. This is the thing I just got done talking about. Endless amounts of rules and restrictions and guidelines and laws that no one could possibly even remember, let alone take the time to read. I make, at my job, probably, I don't know because I don't know. I guess I'd have to actually look at my taxes and stuff like that, which I haven't done. But I make less than $20,000 a year. I think I make probably like $18,000 a year or less. I don't make very much money at the vet. It's hard work. It's really hot. You're dealing with animals that could bite you all the time. And there's, we've got 2 parvo dogs in back right now. I could totally get sick from parvo, right? So I'm working a job that's actually sometimes kind of dangerous, actually. I've been bit and all that other stuff. And I don't even make that much money. I make $18,000 a year. Now here it says that if I don't put a mask over my face, now they didn't even ask me if I say, well, have you been asthmatic or had exercise-induced bronchial spasms for a long time? Do you have an inhaler and things like that? No, you just put a mask on. If you don't, you're going to get a fine. You're not in control of your health. We are. Now, what's interesting about the rights that are declared in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution says that excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. So even though I'm asthmatic and have breathing issues and things like that, if I don't put a mask on and I go outside, I can get a $5,000 fine or put into a prison cell for a year. I only make $18,000 a year. I don't know about you, but I don't think I need a constitutional lawyer. I don't think I need anybody to say that, well, I'd say that is an excessive fine. I would say that's the imposition of an excessive fine. I would say that's cruel and unusual punishment. Even though you have breathing issues, you put a mask on. If you don't, we'll put you in a prison cell. The fact that the government even came and said that some businesses are essential and other businesses are not is outrageous. Government came in and said my wife was unessential. The government came in and told me that my wife was unessential. She was non-essential. That's enough for me to take arms right there. Walmart can be open. All small businesses can be open. Period. You're essential. God breathed the breath of life into your nostrils and made you a living soul. You're essential. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. What we need to re-establish and reinvigorate, revitalize, remember, what we need to do is remember that politicians are scumbags. They're pigs. We have a history of this country of not putting our faith into politics, always question them. The entire Constitution was set up to not trust government. The entire Constitution was set up because, we got to make checks and balances to make sure no one's getting out of hand. Politicians were always known as swine. They were always working off the backs of hardworking people, just like they're doing right now. Small businesses are closing left and right. People are going through their savings left and right. They're maxing out credit cards. They're scared. And all the guy at Paley's Kitchen wants to do is come to work and serve up some scrambled eggs. But the politicians are living off the backs of us. This is, I don't know when this is from, a long time ago. Railroads and big corporations and industry and utilities. And it's the hardworking man just constantly feeding it, constantly feeding it. Well, no more. Open back up. Open your businesses back up and do it together. This is an opportunity, guys. We can all come together and say, no, I'm not following your orders or your guidelines or your restrictions or your rules or your statutes or anything. I will be following the Constitution. I will be following what God has given me that I am entitled to and that I have the right to. That's what I'll be following. And if anybody says otherwise, it will be over my dead body. So we're going to open back up. That's what we should do, and we should do it together. Democrats, Republicans, here's your chance. Here's your chance to show the whole world how tolerant you all are. To show the world how you're better people, that you can rise up together and be like, well, I don't have to hate everybody in this. You may not all get along, but you can agree to do this. Say, I want to open my business back up. So open it back up. And when do you open it back up? 2 weeks from now. Together. That's what you do. On July 23rd. Why July 23rd? Because it's National Hot Dog Day. You say, Marty, why are we opening up the businesses and collectively telling the government to basically go F itself with your guidelines and your restrictions and your rules from an agency that's not even part of the federal government? The government can't even define, why are we opening up on National Hot Dog Day? Well, number one, I have a sense of humor. I thought it was pretty funny. Number two, it's 20 days from now, and knowing, with the internet and we have Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these Twitter and all these outlets. 20 days would be plenty of time to get this message into the hands of all those business owners that want to open up together, unify. It would be a beautiful thing to witness. I would love to see that happen in my lifetime. If July 23rd, I saw all those businesses open back up, and July 24th, I died, I would die a happy man. Why are we opening up on National Hot Dog Day? Because what's more American than hot dogs, apple pie, baseball, and freedom? What you're going to do, if you want to show the world that we're better people, you want to show the world that we are not going to take this lying down, we want to show the world we are going to fight for our rights. We're not going to let some tyrannical government mow down our God-given inherent rights. You're going to redeclare your independence. Marty Leeds is even made a sign for you. I used to work in the sign industry, so I went ahead and went ahead and made a sign for you, so you could screenshot that if you want. And I even I'm such a prick. I even made crop marks. All right. It's a little tight there. I could say, but that's for you. So what you could do is post this everywhere. Post it in your businesses, on your Facebook account. Mirror this video if you like. Post it everywhere, and tell them that we are redeclaring, just as our founding fathers did. They declared their independence. It's called the Declaration of Independence. Do it again. Do it en masse. Show the world how great we truly are. What an opportunity. Now, you don't have to go and protest and get together down at the county square or in the state building capitol and get together and get your little megaphone there. And you don't need to go and grab those little wood sticks and get your 18 by 24 inch cardboard little sheets at Walmart and get your little Slingerland staples and staple all around, and then get you those really toxic Sharpie markers, the really fat ones, and say, we want our freedoms back. You don't have to do any of that. You literally have to do nothing. All you have to do is sit there and collectively redeclare your independence. You don't have to go down to protest, everybody get together at this time and be here. No, you can do it from the comfort of your own home. Do you know why Do you know why the Constitution, you know what this is right here? Look at this, guys. For all you, by the way, you can listen to this at martyleeds33.com if you want to listen to the podcast. But all of you that are watching right now, do you know what this is? Look at this thing. Oh, that's paper thin. My Lord, that's small. What is that? No, it's not my penis. What is that? That's pretty small. You know what it is? This little pamphlet here that you can get for $1. And in fact, I think you can get it at Amazon for like $1 or $1.99. And Amazon even has next day shipping. You could have this in your hand tomorrow if you don't already have one. Do you know why this is so small? Do you know what's in here? The Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution of these United States. And look how tiny it is. Do you know why it's so small? Do you know why they could fit those 3 documents in such a little thing? It's because the Constitution and your rights were never meant to be convoluted. We're never meant to be confused. We're never meant to be like, well, I don't know if I have rights or not. No. The reason it's so small is that, my Lord, you could fit this in your pocket. It's literally a pocket constitution. Carry it around. Now, it says here, I saw this paper. It says, safety versus liberty. Constitutional freedoms tempered by the pandemic. And this comes once again from the Tribune Herald, local paper here. It says, ooh, safety versus liberty. Which one do we want? Safety versus liberty. Well, if our safety is in the hands of people that we don't feel safe with, are we really safe? Because I don't feel safe with the CDC or WHO or that last government or this one, whether it's Trump or Obama. I don't feel safe there. In this article, it says this. When a constitutional lawyer says the Hawaii government is within its rights to restrict basic freedoms during the coronavirus pandemic, you can probably take that to the bank. Robert Thompson, this constitutional lawyer here, says, Thomas cited legal cases in Hawaii on the mainland where courts have upheld government restrictions over laws and rights during times of emergencies, from the burning of Honolulu's Chinatown during the bubonic plague to the quarantining of Hansom's disease victims. This constitutional lawyer, Thomas, said this. Thomas focused on the practical realities of how he expects courts to rule based on history, not on what might be considered right or wrong or good or bad policy. So here's a constitutional lawyer literally telling you that when it comes to your liberty and your rights that have been bequeathed to you by God, that you are entitled to, that are not given to you by the Constitution, they're given to you by God, and the Constitution merely enumerates and declares them. This guy is saying that the courts are going to base whether or not they can put you in an apartment, hold you up and quarantine you and impose excessive fines and stuff like that. They're going to rule not on what might be considered right or wrong or good or bad policy, but based on history. Well, what if we had a history of corruption? Even if they pass a law that says that, well, we can restrict your rights, no, they can't, because they didn't give you the rights in the first place. God did. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. The right of the people to be, this is Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. That's a right. It is the right of the people. You see that? You're entitled to it. No one can take it away. Against unusual seizures. So this constitutional lawyer holding up in your house and for 14 days and not being able to go out, I would say that that's an unreasonable seizure. They don't even say whether or not you can go to the grocery store. So they don't care. The Constitution, constitutional lawyers, the judiciary system, they're literally telling you, we don't care about your rights. We're not going to decide whether this thing is legal or not legal based on what's right or wrong. And what they do in the past. Did they get away with it in the past? Let's get away with it again. Well, you have to assert your rights. You have to declare them and announce them. and realize that even if that law passes, it's not law because it violates your rights. It's that simple. Do you know why this is so small? Because it was meant to be read. It's not meant to be convoluted. All of this stuff, this Amendment 4 is one sentence. Amendment 8 is one sentence. The reason they made this so simple, so small, so succinct is because anybody that has a basic reading capacity can understand it. You don't need a lawyer and a constitutional lawyer to finagle with one single sentence that says the right of the people to be secure against unreasonable seizures shall not be violated. You don't need a constitutional lawyer to say, well, it actually says this. No, it's a right. It shall not be violated. And if it is violated, then you assert your rights. The thing that people need to know is that people that are willing and that want to take your rights away, they're never going to willfully give them back. So go ahead. Redeclare our independence. And you know what you do? All those businesses that want to open back up on National Hot Dog Day, all those businesses that want to open up on National Hot Dog, that you're going to open up together and you're going to unify. And if some of the cops come and like, well, we're going to shut your business down. All those other businesses that want to open up simultaneously, you're going to go and protect those businesses, right? You're going to go and post this sign on all your businesses. And you're going to order pocket constitutions. You're going to lay them out on your business. So any police officer that comes in and say, excuse me, sir, did you sign an oath to protect me, to uphold and defend the Constitution? Well, there it is right there. Are you seizing my business? Am I not secure in my papers and effects? You're terrorizing me. All those businesses that want to open back up, you open back up. And you know what you also do? You send the government a bill. Send the government a bill for the lost revenue of your closed businesses. And you do it on National Hot Dog Day. That's what you do. You open your business back up and say, well, and you got 20 days to do this, by the way. That's plenty of time. It's over 2 weeks. I'm giving you a whole lot of leeway here. Look, we got good lead time here. You send the government a bill for the lost revenue of your closed business. Look in your taxes. Go into, make your average about what you would make in the time that you were closed. The day one, they say you got to close your business until you open back up, even during the restrictions and guidelines. And you find it and you figure out, hey, this is what it is. And you send the government a bill. Because the government came and said, we're going to restrict your rights and take away all your civil liberties and things like that, but you're not going to compensate me for the business lost? You don't have the right to do that. Everybody knows that we can't have these businesses go down. You got to put food on your family.
If you're a single mother with 2 children, which is the toughest job in America as far as I'm concerned, and you're working hard to put food on your family,
you got to put food on your family, man. You got to feed yourself. You got to feed your kids. They're saying, close your business, still pay your bills. They didn't close the mortgage companies, did they? No, they didn't do that. They said the mortgage companies were essential, but gun shops were not. Let people practice their love. Practice the things that they want. Let them open their business. Right?
we got an issue in America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country.
People want to practice their love. They want to go into their business and do what they love to do. My friend at Pele's Kitchen, he wants to serve my wife a Waikoloa scramble. But the police are coming in and say, you do that, we're going to shut your business down, fine you, and possibly put you in a prison cell. I just want to get some eggs. That's all people want to do. Go back to work. That's it. Everyone I talk to. They're just like, yeah, we all complain about work because it kind of sucks. I'm going to have to go to work today. It's going to be hot as balls. I'm going to be picking up dog shit. Might even get bit today. Who knows? But you know what? I want to go because I want to earn my living. The answer is this. It's easy. COVID-19 solution. You will not have your rights taken away, and you will announce them, and you will declare them. If you don't, then, well, I guess we'll see what happens. The COVID-19 solution is afraid, not afraid. If you're afraid, and I mean this in all sincerity, this is no cynicism whatsoever. Stay at home. Do video conferences. Order curbside delivery. Wear a mask and gloves. Shut down your business. I'm not even saying this. I'm saying this in all earnestness. If you're scared of COVID, if you're scared of this alleged virus that's taking over everywhere, if you're scared of that, please stay at home. I will support you. Stay at home, close your business down. I'll stay 6 feet away. If you don't want me to even talk to you, that's fine. I'll let you do that. You can be afraid, and I'll support you in your afraidness. But if you're not afraid, then go to work, go to school, shop at your stores, eat at restaurants, open up your restaurant, go worship at your church. Travel and vacation, go to ball games, fish and hunt, take kids to parties, host, go to parties, enjoy life. Do you know it says, once again, your rights. It says in the amendments of the Constitution, it says, Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's the first thing that they write. Yet they close the churches down, open them back up. Do it together. You want to see the strength of humanity? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You open it together. You say, you want to come and terrorize me? Well, now you're going to have to deal with everybody that wants to open back up. Because you are enforcing guidelines and rules and restrictions and mandates and executive orders and regular orders and all this. No laws. And even if you were to enforce those laws, they would be unlawful because they're taking away our rights. That's the solution. Afraid? Not afraid. You do you. I'll do me. You know what's so beautiful too is that those grocery stores and all those things that like Walmart and Safeway and all that stuff, you could actually, when somebody comes in, you could give them a little red wristband that says, I'm afraid of COVID-19. And that everybody in the store will know that, hey, this person's really scared, okay? They allow them to wear the mask and douse themselves in bleach or put the hand sanitizer, whatever it is you do. And everybody in the store will see that, oh, this guy's got the red wristband on. He's afraid of COVID. I'm going to give him some distance. I was like, well, 6 feet, right? 72 inches, something like that. I'm going to stay back. What a great idea, right? Just let everybody know that you're scared of it. Now, I'm not scared of COVID. I wouldn't even mind getting COVID, honestly. Because I'm seeing that, well, of course, they don't know if you get COVID, are you immune? Because isn't that how it works? Like once you build up immunity, that's how your immune system works. So if you get COVID, then you would be immune from COVID, right? Or what is the science telling us? Well, the science is telling us that 2 out of 3 doctors prefer Lucky Strike cigarettes. These are the survival rates of COVID-19. 99.983%. Even if these are fudged just a little bit, this is what this approximately what it is. 99.9754%, 3%, 99.9% of people that contract COVID survive. Now, as we know, the COVID cases, what we're being told about the actual deaths is bullshit, and I have first-hand information from this. All right? All the and medical institutions will say this, every COVID case is marked as a COVID case. It's reported to the CDC and all this other stuff. My grandmother was in the hospital. She was in the hospital for a while. She had dementia and Parkinson's disease. She was 87 years old. She was dying. She wasn't eating. She wasn't doing anything. She was dying. She had been dying for a long time. She was in terrible health. She was in the hospital and she contracted COVID. And she became one of the COVID deaths. Well, I have first-hand information that at least one of those deaths are bullshit. She was going to die anyway. It was a blessing that she died because she was in pain. If she would have got the flu, she would have died. If she would have got pneumonia, she would have died. If she would have had any other ailment or anything like that, she would have been dead. But she got the alleged COVID, and she died alone in a hospital. Not even her son. My Uncle John, not even my Uncle John could go in and be by his mother's side when she crossed the gates of death. I would say that's cruel and unusual punishment inflicted on citizens. Are you going to let your partner die alone? Are you going to let your mother and father die alone in a hospital? What's happening right now is we're being terrorized. Literally by definition. Literally by definition, you are being terrorized right now. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. It is your right to not believe in COVID, to not go for this entire, this narrative that's being pushed. It's your right not to, inject or put yourself into this madness of the whole thing. It's your right to do that. It's also your right to see that this is done for political aims. I can tell you what, I know for a fact that my friend down at Paley's Kitchen, his life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is being thwarted. He's being terrorized. I saw it in his eyes. I came home that night and I wanted to just bawl my eyes out because I saw he was scared. He was terrorized. He was intimidated. He was being terrorized. By who? Local and state government. United States government. Police officers are coming in and not upholding their oath to the Constitution. They're upholding guidelines and restrictions and rules and orders by the CDC, which is an agency of the government where the government can't even define itself. That's terrorism. Plain and simple. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which they have connected with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident. It's self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, I would say that your unalienable rights that are self-evident, that are endowed by your Creator, they're being taken away from my friend over at Pele's Kitchen. And he's being intimidated and terrorized. So what else can you do? Well, make a change. November 3rd, Election Day. Restore the Republic. Restore the Republic. Well, how do we do that, Marty? No confidence. Vote no confidence. Go to your polls. Actually, we're going to find out you don't even need to go to your polls. I'm going to give you a way to let the government know. Local, state, and federal government know that you're voting no confidence and that you will be redeclaring your independence. Now, when you redeclare your independence, it's not like saying, well, look at this, I'm redeclaring my independence. I can do whatever the hell I want now. No, you're going to be following the laws. You're going to be taking responsibility for yourself. You're going to stand up and say, I want to take responsibility for myself. I want to redeclare my independence, and this is what I follow now. And all those laws that I can't even understand, I could never even take the time to possibly read, that law enforcement are enforcing me to abide by or obey. I don't understand all that. No confidence. And what do? Well, you fire everybody. You go in and say, everyone's fired. State, governors, mayors, the president, everybody in the executive and judicial and legislative branch. We're voting no confidence, and it's everyone is fired. And not only that, you're going to be under investigation. You're going to have your property seized, your finances seized. We're going to go in and take a look at everything, and we're going to find out your associates, and we're going to find out who's been on the side of the American people and who's not. Everybody goes. And so what we're gonna do is, we're not going to ask this of you. This is going to be one of those orders, one of those executive orders by we the people. And what we're going to tell you to do is, not ask you to do, we're going to tell you, we're going to order you to do, is stay at home. Shelter in place. All you governors and mayors and executive, judicial, legislative, everybody in those branches, what you're going to do is you're going to stay at home. Save lives. Shelter in place. I mean, you asked us to do it, right? You asked us to do it for several months, several weeks, whatever it's been. Why can't you do it? What we're going to ask you, once again, I'm sorry. We're not asking anything. We're demanding. We're redeclaring our independence. And we're ordering you. Stay home. Save lives. You're under investigation now. You're going to shelter in place. You're going to stay at home by orders of we the people. You just stay there, and what if they need food? We're not really sure about that. It's a little foggy yet. I mean, we're just going to make you stay there until we figure out what criminal activity you have or have not been involved in. Well, how long are they going to stay? Well, does it really matter? They lifted habeas corpus. So will we. Well, Marty, that kind of sounds like a witch hunt. You mean to tell me that we're just going to fire everybody in the federal government, the local and state government, and go in and that sounds like a witch hunt. My Lord, Marty. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's exactly what it will be. We will be dedicated to finding out which people have been for the citizens of the United States, which people have been patriots, and who hasn't. Yeah, it'll be a witch hunt, if you will. We'll be finding out which one of you are criminals and who isn't. It's like it's like one of those things, like, you ever see this where they, like, you have like a termite infested house, and it's like, well, we don't need to tear down the entire house or anything like that. The house is actually just fine, right? But the problem is we got a bunch of termites in there. So what we're gonna do is tarp the whole thing and then like gas bomb the whole thing, right? It's like fog or smoke the whole thing out, and then after it's done, we're gonna take the tarp out, and all the termites will be gone, but our house will still be standing. We can go and redecorate it and refurnish it and take back our house. Clean out all the termites, if you will. So all those governors and mayors and everything like that, on November 3rd, when we redeclare our independence and vote you all out of office and restore the republic, you're going to have to stay home, save lives. What you're going to do is audit every branch of the government. Like, we're going to make a clean sweep, and we're going to audit every branch of the government. We, the people, who are the government, are going to audit every branch of the government. It's like, well, I mean, that's just like a huge... Well, no, actually, it's not even going to be that difficult of a thing, as we'll come to find out. But audit every branch of the government. Now, people say, well, that's just an impossible task. How are we going to do that? Okay. We've been a country since 1787 or something like that. Or, the general thing is like 1776, that whole thing. But really, the Constitution was signed in 1787, all that sort of thing. So from 1787 to, what is it, 2020 right now, something like that? That's like, I don't know, I'm not very good at math, but it's like a couple hundred years or something like that. In a couple hundred years of this country having Constitution and all of that sort of stuff, we've never audited the government. We've never done a full sweep and audited every single branch of the government. Now, the IRS can come in and just say, well, we're going to audit you now. And they can come in and go through your personal effects and your papers and everything like that, even though the Constitution says they're not allowed to do that. They can come in and go through your personal effects and your papers and all that sort of stuff, and they can audit you whenever they feel like it. And if they impose a fine on you and you're like, well, I got to pay it, otherwise I'm going to have to deal with the IRS, which is, once again, not even a part of the federal government. Audit every branch of the government. Every single branch. We've never done it. Why not? It would be a good way to find out if there was corruption, wouldn't it? It'd be an excellent way to find out just who exactly is corrupt and who's not. You mean to tell me we've been a country for 200 years and we've never done a full audit of our government? That's guys, I'm a little upset at you right now. I don't really think you've been good patriots. I think we can turn that around though, can't we? A clean sweep. And what you're going to do is recall the servants, just like George Washington said that we will undoubtedly do. Mr. Georgie Wash said this: the power of the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing, and whenever it is executed contrary to the interest of the people or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. Our public servants are no longer serving us. So let's do a clean sweep. Let's recall them all. Find out who's corrupt and who's not. Well, that's, I was going to find that's a lot of people. So there's going to be a lot of people that are under house arrest. Well, God, that kind of sounds like what's going on right now, doesn't it? Now, what's interesting is that the Constitution, as you will all learn, as all my students will learn when they watch Michael Badnarik's Constitution class complete, all 6 hours of it, as you will all learn, the Constitution declares specifically and exactly what the government can and cannot do. It doesn't enumerate it, but it lists it. It says to regulate commerce, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, to coin money, to provide the punishment of counterfeiting and securities, to establish POSA. It literally lists exactly what the government can and cannot do. Do you know what our government is doing right now? Completely they're operating in a complete affront to the Constitution. There's tons of branches and subsidiaries and bureaucracies and agencies and services and things like that the government has employed. It's not even legal. It's not lawful. It specifically says what the government can and cannot do. All we have to do is do a Control-Alt-Delete. In other words, all we have to do is, we've got this computer and it's been running really, really slow. It's probably a Microsoft, but this government that is the computer has been running really, really slow. It's probably been watching a lot of porn or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's got a lot of viruses on there. It's just slowing the thing down. It barely starts. It just drags. You can't download anything. You can't upload anything. It's just a pile of junk at this point. But the computer's actually fine. It's just all the software in it. So you know what we can do? We can wipe clean the hard drive and reboot the computer with a new hard drive with all those programs and all those viruses completely off the computer, and we'll restart our computer. And in this, it says exactly and specifically what the government can and cannot do. We hit Control-Alt-Delete, we wipe clean that hard drive, we reinstall the hard drive. What do we got? We got exactly what the government can and cannot do. We got a nice, finely running, fine-tuned machine. Now, once again, with the redeclaration of our independence and November 3rd restoring the republic, and once again I'll get to just exactly how we're going to do that, or how I propose that we could do that. And anybody that wants to say that this is some sort of, he's trying to overthrow the government, he's some dissident or terrorist, not even close. I just read from the Declaration of Independence. I'm saying it's not like I want anarchy or to overthrow the government. No, I'm just saying go the fuck home. That's all. I don't want anarchy. I want the rule of law back. I want laws that I can actually read and understand. I don't want to be buried in paperwork and laws and rules and regulations and restrictions that I can't even comprehend. And I'd like to think that I'm a pretty smart guy. So how do you vote no confidence? Well, what if the voting booths are closed? What if they have a COVID thing and it's just a mass and we don't get to vote and everybody goes crazy? Well, guess what? You can vote, and you vote by this way. You send the United States federal government $1, and you put in the memo there, redeclaring our independence. Now, why are you sending the United States? I'm not sending the United States government anything, Marty. How dare you tell me to do that? Ha! No, you're going to send the United States government $1. You know why? Because it says in the Constitution that the United States federal government has the right to tax you. Now, I personally don't have a problem with taxes if they're used for the right reasons. If they're actually, if the taxes are enumerated and there's an invoice and that everybody, hey, I paid my taxes this year. What did those taxes specifically go to? I have no problem paying taxes. And because it's in the Constitution that we are going to reinvigorate and resubstantiate when we restore the Republic on November 3rd, when we do that, it says that the federal government they have the right to taxes. So we're not going to negate that. We're going to uphold the Constitution, and you're going to send the United States government $1. I think there's like 350 million people in the United States government, and that's how much money they will have to work with to keep their federal government going. And of course, once again, we know exactly what the government can and cannot do. The federal government, it's listed in the Constitution very succinctly. So send $1 for taxes to the United States federal government, and then you send $110 to your local state, and that will be for taxes, and that will be them as literally a document that says, I'm voting no confidence. I want to redeclare our independence. I don't want to overthrow the government. I don't want to be a dissident or anything like that. I want to restore the Constitution of these United States. I want to desperately obey the law. I desperately want to know my rights. So $110 and $1, that should be enough to keep the federal government going and enough to keep your state government going as well. Of course, there's going to be a lot of people going home. And there's going to be a lot of corrupt people that we know that are in the federal government that we will be seizing their finances. We will be seizing their houses. And we'll be finding out who's been involved in criminal activity and not. And if we find out they're involved in criminal activity, then we're going to be taking their finances. And we're going to be taking their things. Because why? Because they ripped it off from us. And it's we, the people. $111 to let the government know we're not doing it anymore. We're doing this. We're not terrorists. We're good-hearted, loving, caring, compassionate, tolerant, patriotic people. that love our country, love our fellow man, and all we want to do is go back to work. And so we're going to let them know. And we're also going to let them know, we're going to let everybody know that you're either for us or you're against us.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists. Either you're with us, either you love freedom and with nations which embrace freedom, or you're with the enemy. There's no in between. You're either with us or you're with the enemy. That's clear. I will continue to make that clear.
Okay, so George Bush himself is making that clear. You're either with us, we the people, or you're with the terrorists. So let us know. Let us know, everybody. Everybody. Here's your chance. Let us know. Are you for the terrorists, or are you for we the people? Because as George Bush has said and Obama has said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And the terrorists don't negotiate with us. Terrorists want to take away the things that God gave us. I don't really think we should negotiate with them at all. Our Republican president said it, and our Democratic president said it. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists, and that we don't negotiate with them. I would agree. And you're saying, Marty, this is never going to work. Anybody that says this is never going to work, are you telling me that God's inherent rights that he gave you are never going to work? Do you mean to tell me that you don't believe in the Constitution and enumerated rights that were given to you by God? You don't believe in that? You want to, if you're telling me you don't believe in this country, and that well, I guess we should just let it fall then, right? Just please let me know. How do we do this? Well, you think globally. You think globally and act locally. Start small. You know what? They're saying they want to get big in Japan. We want to be small in America. That's what we want to be. You think globally, you act locally. You unify. You come together and let everybody know, all those mayors, all those police officers, all those governors, everybody that's on any sort of government board everywhere, that this is what you're intending to do. You don't want to cause any harm. You want to follow the law. You really, really want to follow the law. And you're going to act locally. We're going to cut the head off of the dragon of the federal government on November 3rd, if we want. And then we can start building the republic back, state by state, county by county, city by city. Well, Marty, how are we going to do this? The people can't do this. The people aren't going to do it. You and I, we'll have to be involved, of course. Just like if you want to be involved in your country, you have to take part in it. You have to participate. But we won't be doing it. Do you know who's going to do it for us? The military, the police, the sheriffs. They are the ones that are going to put all of these politicians on house arrest. We're going to go through their things. Do you know why the police and the military and the governors are going to do, and the sheriffs? Do you know why they're going to do that? Do you know why they're going to work for us? Because they work for us. Because they each signed an oath to swear to uphold the United States Constitution and enforce all federal, state, and local laws. You take an oath of office when you become president, or when you be a member of Congress. Every single sheriff, every single police officer swore an oath to protect and defend we the people and the Constitution of these United States. Now, we clearly have defined what rights are. We have clearly defined that those rights are being stripped from us right now under some emergency declaration and proclamation or some public safety, and no one has the rights to take those away. And every single one of those police officers and every single one of those sheriffs, you signed that oath. You pledged that oath. Let's pledge that oath together. Pledge it again, except this time, on November 3rd, it will be for we the people. You will be pledging your oath again, but you will be pledging an oath to defend we the people. And we'll find out exactly who we the people are, because all the people that want to open this country back up, all the people that want to follow the law, I don't want people that want an understandable, succinct understanding of what their rights are. All those people, we're going to get together and we're going to stand up and say, we the people. And you are going to have to stand up and say, are you for we the people or not? Are you for the terrorists or not? Because either you're with us or you are against us. And that goes for every single police officer that went and intimidated and threatened my good buddy down there at Pele's Kitchen. You're a terrorist. You're terrorizing people that all they want to do is put food on their family. Guys, we're in this together, okay? We're in this together. We don't have to agree. In fact, I know there's a lot of people out there that can't stand me, right? And that's fine. But we're going to have to agree on this. We're going to have to transcend our differences and agree that things have gotten so corrupt, so bad, so off track, that we don't want to just uproot the whole thing and say, well, we're just going to have to let socialism and communism run in. No, we want to reestablish our republic. And we've got a law book right here. It's really, I mean, you carry your phone around every day. I see people doing this shit all day long. You mean to tell me you can carry your phone, but you can't carry this? I mean, you can even get an app on your phone that has this on there. Everybody's got this. I would get a paper copy. Carry it around. Every cop that stops you, say, hey, are we in this together? Or are you a terrorist? Are you with us or are you against us? That's all I need to know, officer, because if you're saying no, I don't follow the Constitution, well then I guess we got the Second Amendment, don't we? That gives you the right to defend yourself. All those people that are talking about, well, we need gun control and stuff like that. We already have gun control. All that gun control will be lifted. Do you know why? Because when you say this group over here, they can have guns. But this group over here that's in the government, or I should say this group of government, or group of people that are in the government here, military, police, whatever it is, they can have guns. And they can even have really, really powerful guns. But this group of people over here, they can't. They have to have a license or a 3-day waiting period or whatever it is. That violates your rights. What you're doing there is separating we the people from we the people. You're separating the government from the people. You have a right to defend yourself. And the reason that the Second Amendment was written, let's read it. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. If you say this group over here can have arms and this other, you just separated we the people. You just separated who has rights and who doesn't. Well, we're in this together. If those cops want to stand up and say, yeah, I'm going to terrorize you, well, then I guess it says here in amendment, it's literally the second thing. It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Look, guys, this whole thing has taken a long time to thought. It's going to take a long time to unthought.
To unthaw. You know, this thought took a while to thaw. It's going to take a while to unthaw.
This whole mess we're in took a long time to thought. It's going to take a long time to unthought, okay? And there's nothing saying that the United States government, this corrupt, tyrannical government, was always going to be buddy-buddy with we the people.
It was not always a given that the United States and America would have a close relationship.
Okay. Not always a given that the United States government and we the people were always going to have a close relationship. Now, when you do an audit and we clean sweep and audit every branch of the government, do you know what you could find out? Well, there's a big argument right now online where there's a bunch of crazy people, just insane people that think the earth is flat. They're called flat-tards. And there's a bunch of just absolutely insane, crazy people that think the earth is a sphere and that it's spinning really fast and that the sun is 93 million miles away. So now this is a big argument online and there's a lot of name calling, a lot of people calling everybody stupid and anti-science and all that. Do you know what you could do if you audited every branch of the government? You could find out. Audit NASA. Wait a minute. Beyond the flat earth, globe earth debate or anything like that, you mean to tell me an organization, a branch of the government, has been receiving, like, I've heard anywhere from like $50 million a day, and we've never audited that branch of the government to find out where that money went? Was it well spent? Where did it go? Here's a question. What if Donald Trump, according to the Democratic narrative, what if Donald Trump is colluding with Russia through NASA? We would find out. And that's the beautiful thing about doing a clean sweep. That's the beautiful thing about auditing every branch of the government. It's a beautiful thing about everybody's fired. It's a beautiful thing about that, because you know what you'd find out? Well, you would mend the separation and the rift between so many of these Democrats and the Republicrats. Okay? Because on the Democrat side, they said, well, Donald Trump is colluding with Russia. And on the Republican side, or the Republican side, you hear there's these people that believe that there's this guy Q that's behind Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is like a savior and stuff like that, and that he's taken down the deep state, right? So on one side of the aisle, you said, he's colluding with Russia, and on the other side of the aisle, you have people saying, well, there's this guy Q that's behind the scenes, and he's gonna really stand for America and take down the deep state. Do you know what you would find if you audited every branch of the government? Which one was right? Maybe both were wrong. Maybe both were right. Who knows? I guess we would find out, right? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't it be a beautiful thing? You could shut up all those people that believe in the Russian collusion narrative, and you could shut up all those Q-tards, just like that. Just like that. And of course, Donald Trump, if, he, November 3rd, if we're like, hey, we want to reestablish the republic, we want to follow the Constitution, we want to get back to the foundational principles and axioms in which this entire country was founded, I'm sure Donald Trump would be all for that, right? You mean to tell me, Donald Trump, you're not for the Constitution of these United States? Because the rest of the people in the United States are. And all we have to do is unify the same time and declare it. That's it. And you know what God has given us right now? The opportunity to do that. We have Facebook and Instagram and the Google and all the Twitter and YouTube, all of it. We can reach everybody today, tomorrow. Now, if you don't think that the government's gotten too big, if you think, well, I think the government is a pretty good size. I think it's a pretty good size. We're going to watch, this is just a short clip here, and it is the government agencies from A to Z. Ready? So that was all the government agencies listed from A to Z, put over the Benny Hill theme song. So as you can see, I would say the government's got a little bit. If I spent a long time, I could probably memorize all of those government agencies. But it would take me a long time. So that would just be memorizing all the government agencies. That wouldn't be memorizing and understanding all the laws and rules and restrictions and statutes and all this that all of those agencies passed, is it? I couldn't even remember. Honestly, and like I like to say, I'm a pretty smart guy, I would like to think anyway, and it would take me a long time just to even remember that. I'd probably get some of it wrong. All of those government agencies are passing laws that restrict you and your business and your family and your rights. So we become anti-federalists. You put the power back in the hands of the people, you put it back in the hands of the county, you put it back in the hands of the state. We've been federalists for a long time. And we've let this federal government become a frickin' monster, a frickin' demon. It's like that 7, 10-headed frickin' beast in Revelation. That's what the federal government's become. So we've become anti-federalists. We want important political powers to remain with the states. We want the legislative branch to have more power than the executive branch. The anti-federalists feared that a strong executive might become a king or a tyrant. Well, as I've said before, I don't care. It doesn't even matter who gets in office anymore. They become a king or a tyrant. What you do, you walk away. You walk away. You walk away from your party. You start a new party. You walk away. Now, there's going to be people out there who's be like, Marty, I can't believe you're even saying this right now. Look, man, my family's been a Republican. My grandfather was a Republican. My father was a Republican. My brother's a Republican. And his wife's a Republican. And her whole family's Republican. How dare you tell me to walk away from the Republican Party? You've never been a Republican in your life. You've never been a Republican in your life. Not one Republican. If you voted in this government system, Not once have you ever been a Republican. Well, Marty, what are you saying? Because the Constitution clearly defines that the governmental system that we're supposed to have in this country is a Republican form of government. We don't have a Republican form of government, do we? Everybody that you ask say, what kind of government do we have here? We have a democracy. Okay, so you mean to tell me you're all rah-rah for the Republicans, and yet you Republicans have been voting in a democracy your entire life. Now, here's a dig to the Democrats out there. You guys, you Democrats, have been voting for a democracy your entire life when the Constitution has been set up as a republic. So guess what? Both of you have your head proverbially up your... You know what I'm saying? Now, I love all you. We all make mistakes. We can fix it, though. You walk away. You walk away. Walk away from your party. Start a new party. Okay? Walk away. What is that party? It's the Constitution Party. Or, I mean, I think there is a Constitution Party, so maybe you don't want to become the Constitution Party. But you could become the Constitutional Rebirth Party. The Redeclaring Our Independence Party. The 2020 Party. You name it whatever you want. And all your party is going to do is this. Reestablish the Constitution of these United States. And we're starting at square one again. All those laws, all those restrictions, all those rules, all that stuff is off the table now. And we're going back to this. And then we're going to build from there. Of course, all the people that stand up and say they're going to do this isn't some free-for-all. You now have an enormous responsibility. Are you ready to take it on? Are you ready to take it on? Because that's what true freedom requires of you. You have to assert your rights. You have to take responsibility for yourself. No one, I would say, no one would be like, well, the Constitution's in place now, I'm going to do what I want. No. You take responsibility for yourself and the people around you. And we look back at this whole mess that I've been living for 41 years in hindsight and say, you know what? This COVID thing, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. What do I mean? Why is COVID wonderful? Because it's opened up a door. It's given us a huge opportunity to look back at the mess that we've been living in our whole lives and say, this thing doesn't have to fall to bits. This thing doesn't have to crumble right before our eyes. We have God-given rights. We can declare them again, just like they did in the founding of this country. And we can take back our Constitution. We can take back our country. And we'll call it the Great Reset. Yeah, I came up with that on my own. The Great Reset, that's what we'll call it. Look back, hindsight 2020, the Great Reset, in which we walk away from parties, political parties, that are not in alignment with your rights, your God-given rights at all. I know that those parties aren't in alignment with rights on the island here, because Mayor Kim, he's a Republican. He don't give a shit about your rights. And Governor Ige, he's a Democrat, and he doesn't give a shit about your rights. We'll call it the Great Reset. Because this moment calls for the Great Reset. We need it. Wipe and clean the hard drive. Reinstalling that hard drive. Our computers run just fine. It just had a bunch of programs on there that were screwing it up, lagging it, making it run like shit. Clean them off. I also think that the media on November 3rd should be shut down for crimes against humanity. All the major media outlets for crimes against humanity, for pushing fear, terrorism, propaganda, they should be held in court. Everybody that works at those news organizations, all the people at the top, and all of their associates. You know why we need to do this? Because the media keeps telling us that we're a culture of hate. We're so divided and no one can get along, and it's constantly put in your head. And I don't believe that. I've lived 41 years, and I've seen some assholes. I've been one of those. I've been an asshole in my day. I've seen people be jackasses and dick bags, and I've seen racism. I've seen issues in this country. But those issues are exacerbated. They're not nearly as bad as what everybody makes them out to be. And by everybody, I mean the media. The culture, this is what I wrote. The culture created here in America has become a culture of entertainment via Hollywood. Many young adults create their bonds through TikTok and Disney Plus, and our civility is dying because of it. But a doorway is being opened right now for us to realize that we are being divided. We are being divided. We are not divided. E pluribus unum. We are not a culture of hate. I've experienced this my entire life. I've seen hate, sure. I've seen racism, sure. But do you know what I've seen these 41 years? You know what the common theme has been? People are good. People are good. I currently work at an office, a vet, with people of numerous different beliefs, races, religions, cultures, sexual preferences. No one bats an eye. No one cares one bit about our differences there. Not one. We care about who's pulling their weight and who's not, who shows up to work and who doesn't. Our interactions at work, and these are the interactions that I really experience on a day-to-day basis. Our interactions and judgments upon one another are based on the content of our character. They're not based on the color of our skin or our religion or our belief system. I work with atheists and agnostics. I work with Christians. I work with Persians. My boss is Indian. His wife is a European American. I got a guy that works in lab in the office there, and he's gay, and he's Venezuelan. I got a guy in back, he's Hawaiian, and he's a Christian. There's a guy that just started that I believe that he's an atheist, and he's from Michigan, and I don't even honestly know what his color is. He's like sort of like dark. I don't even know what he is. You know what? I didn't even care. I never asked. Why? Because I don't care. I said, hey, are you leaving the dishes for somebody else, or are you doing those dishes? That's what I care about. We care about who is pulling their weight and who is not. Our interactions and judgments upon one another are based on the content of our character, not the color of our skin. And this is the way for nearly everyone I know. But our media is telling us otherwise. Every piece of information we get, it's a culture of hate, can't get along, racism in every corner. I ain't seeing it. If people only knew their power. If people only knew their power. I love you. You're essential to me. Can you go to work now? For the time being, there might be a new closing. So, just so you know. God's given us an out right now. A big door is opening. Saying, hey, if you guys all want to get off that little plank together and watch that motherfucker fall, here's your chance. But, and we're going to need help from God. We're going to need divine assistance. We're going to need assistance from the divine. Whenever something like this comes up, you always need assistance from God. Even Jesus knew this. Now, for those of you that are not Christian, or maybe there's some people that are listening to this atheist agnostic, this is just my religion, so that's cool if you don't believe in this stuff. But even Jesus himself said, this is John 5:30, he says, this is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ saying this, by the way. In John 5:30, it says, I can of my own self do nothing. Jesus said, I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which sent me. Not even Jesus could do his work without God. The founders of the Constitution and the founding fathers of this country and the people that have authored the Constitution, they said the same thing. That when they got together and made this compact and declared their rights, they needed God. They needed the hand providence. So will we. The federal Constitution, should everything proceed with harmony and consent according to our actual wishes and expectations, it will demonstrate as visibly the finger of providence as any possible event in the course of human affairs can ever designate it. They were saying when they made the Constitution of these United States, I got a big old version right there. When they made this, they were saying that there was a finger of providence there, that they were employing divinity in the foundation of this country. Daniel Webster says, concerning my devotion to the Constitution, I regard it as the work of the purest patriots and the wisest statesmen that ever lived, ever existed. Aided by the smiles of a benignant providence. It almost appears a divine interposition in our behalf. Daniel Webster was saying, when we were getting together and we were enumerating our rights and declaring these things, God was with us. God was there. You can't build a country, you can't build a civilization without morality and religion. Of all this George Washington farewell address, he says, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness. These firmest props of the duties of men and citizens. It's your duty to be moral. The mere politician, equally with the pious man, ought to respect and to cherish them. Let it simply be asked, where is the security for property, for reputation, for life, if the sense of moral and religious obligation desert the oaths which are the instruments of investigation in courts of justice? Gonna need the divine. We in America do not have a government by the majority. We have a government by the majority who participate. So let's participate together. Let's transcend these ridiculous divisions. If I hear another Republican say, oh, it's Democrats. Excuse me, Republican, you're voting in a democracy. If I hear one of those Democrats, oh, those Republicans. Excuse me, Democrat, you should be voting in a republic. So let's participate. All tyranny needs to gain we in America do not have a government by the majority. We have a government by the majority who participate. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Well, don't remain silent. Speak up. Use that breath of life that God gave you and redeclare your independence. September 17th through the 23rd is Constitution Week. To commemorate the September 17th, 1787 signing of the Constitution of these United States, Congress has designated September 17th of each year as Constitution Day, and September 17th September 17th through the 23rd of each year as Constitution Week. So we have a Constitution Day and a Constitution Week. In 2004, Public Law 108-447, Section 111. Why you're asking, why did I send $110 to the state and $1 to the federal government? Well, the people that watch my channel regularly know that there's some math to that. But other than that, I did it because of that. Because 2004 Public Law 108-447, Section 111 was passed requiring the following: that each educational institution that receives federal funds for a fiscal year should hold an educational program on the United States Constitution on September 17th of each year for the students served by the educational institution. Each federal agency or department shall provide educational and training materials concerning the United States Constitution to each employee on September 17th of each year. Does this happen? Anybody that works at the state or that works in the, works in the school system, whatever, do you celebrate Constitution Day on September 17th? Why don't we do that? Why don't we spend September 17th and that whole week celebrating, renouncing, redeclaring, resubstantiating, learning, educating ourselves about the Constitution? The law says we should. You know who can help us do this? Well, the big retailers, right? Walmart, Target, Lowe's, the Home Depot, Costco, Albertsons, McDonald's, Safeway, Whole Foods, you name them. All of those big retailers, do you know how quickly they went out, and as soon as the social distancing, they had stickers on the floor, and they had signs up that said, keep your distance, 6 feet away, don't slap hands, don't fist bump, don't hug your friends. Within a week, several days, all of these major chains had stickers on the floor and signs up that say, follow the CDC guidelines, keep 6 feet away, social distancing, like that. Next thing you know, I went into the stores and they were changed overnight. Well, I am sure, I can guarantee that all these major big retailers like that are still staying open, that are considered essential, like Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart and Target and Costco and Albertsons and Safe, all of these major retailers, I'm sure, will be chomping at the bit to celebrate we the people. Right? So what I expect all of these stores to do in the run up to not only opening back up, we the people opening back up because we have the right to do so, not only are we going to open back up, we're going to demand, well not demand, or expect these patriotic businesses to be with us. I'm sure Walmart would be, just like I said, chomping at the bit to put big old banners up in front of their store. Big signs that say, hey, we the people. We're redeclaring our independence. We are with the people. Yes, we are, Walmart is. In fact, they're going to have social distancing stickers on the floor, if you want to social distance, that is. And then right next to that say, oh, we the people. When you go into Walmart, what you're going to do when you go in and you go out, right by, okay, so they're going to have that hand sanitizing station right there that says, and they're going to have a new sign that says, you can wear a mask if you want to, if you feel that it protects your health. Please be considerate of all the people that are afraid of COVID-19. And right behind that, right by that hand washing station, right by that thing right there, and then that sign that says we're going to follow CDC guidelines. You know what else they're going to do? Walmart's going to hand out constitutions. Make sure everybody that comes in the store has a constitution. We got to make sure, sir, do you have a constitution? Yeah, I got one last time. Well, let's just have another, please. When you go in and when you go out. And Walmart, I'm sure, I mean, they've got their hands in a lot of pies, right? I'm sure they know some printing houses and things like that. They could print up their own constitution and say, hey, this Constitution of the United States is brought to you by Walmart. They put it right on there. Big signs that say we the people. So we know that all of these retailers that are not, they're not interested in following guidelines and rules and restrictions and things like that. Therefore, we the people and rights. I'm sure all of these retailers will just be excited as hell to stand by the people, right? When you go into McDonald's, instead, when you get that Happy Meal and the kids order that Happy Meal, there's not going to be a toy this time. What's going to be in that Happy Meal? Oh, we're going to put a Constitution in there. We're going to make sure that everybody that comes through the line, sir, you just got your Big Mac and your large fry and your Diet Coke. Don't drink that shit. Don't eat that shit. But if you do go to McDonald's, say like, hey, sir, do you have a Constitution? We just want to make sure with that large fry you got a Constitution. Do you need another, sir? So in the back of this Constitution here, it says that they had a 100 million goal. 16 million of these constitutions have been distributed. I have one of them. You should have several. 100 million goal. It says help educate Americans by sharing copies of the U.S. Constitution. Do you mean to tell me that all of those major retailers would not want to help educate everybody about their rights? Do you mean to tell me Walmart's going to stand up and say, actually, we're not for the people? Walmart, please raise your hand so we know. McDonald's, please raise your hand so we know. Home Depot, Lowe's, raise your hand so we know. This Constitution here, there's a 100 million goal. They want to get the Constitution in the hands of 100 million people. They only got 16 million thus far. McDonald's wants to get their burgers in the hands of 99 billion served. Over 99 billion hamburgers served. McDonald's, I'm sure that you're going to be right with we the people and excited to put on your sign 1 billion constitutions handed out. We just want to make sure the public is educated. That's all. That's what McDonald's is here for. We're here to serve you some shitty food and make sure you're educated about your rights, because you have the right to eat this food or not eat this food. That's your choice, because you're in control of your health. McDonald's be, I'm sure, really, really excited. Guys, this is the moment. This is the moment in America where wings take dreams.
Families is where our nation finds hope, where wings take dream.
That's right. Our wings are going to take dreams, ladies and gentlemen. Our wings are going to take dreams. And all these retailers are going to help educate the people. Because as James Madison says, and all those mayors, and all those governors, and all those police officers, when the police officer pulls you over and says, sir, you were speeding, which is, that's not against the law or anything, but that's not very responsible of you, is it? Okay, I just want to let you know, please try to do the speed limit here and everything like that. It's for the safety of everybody. And make sure here, I just want to make sure you have a Constitution, sir. Sir, do you have a Constitution? I just pulled you over. I just want to make sure. I've got a bunch in the back. Because we want to make sure. We want to make damn sure that people are educated about their rights. James Madison said, a well-instructed people can be permanently a free people. Are we well-instructed? I don't think so. Most people think that we're supposed to have a democracy here. Most people think that, in fact, I just had somebody tell me that, oh, well, there's all these new laws passed. There's no laws passed. James Madison said, a well-instructed people alone can be permanently a free people. Let's instruct the people. A primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government, George Washington said. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important, and what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberties of this country? The future guardians of the liberties of this country have no idea about the Constitution. Well, guess what? Walmart, Shopko, Target, Lowe's, Home Depot, you're all patriots, right? All you CEOs, you're all patriots, right? Then you're going to help us educate everybody. Thank you so much, by the way. I just want to thank you before we even get going on this, because it's really kind of you to do that. You know, I mean, I know it cost you a lot of money to put all those signs up that said social distancing and put in all those rules and regulations and CDC guys. I know it cost you a lot of money to do that. But if you had that money, I'm sure you have enough money to buy a bunch of constitutions, put some banners up. I'm sure you're going to be, once again, chomping at the bit to stand with we the people, aren't you? You're going to be chomping at the bit to put up those signs that says, we're redeclaring our independence. Spread the Constitution to the world. Right? Teach the children, the future protectors of the liberties, teach them how to read it.
Teach a child to read, and he or her will be able to pass a literacy test.
Okay, so he or her will know their rights. The he or her will know the Constitution. Will know the law. And if we do this, we won't get fooled again.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
We've been fooled in so many ways. Well, nah. Let's not get fooled again. Now, for all those people out there that are like, well, Marty, I'm up in the great country up north there in the Canada up there. And up in Canada up there, we ain't got any constitution, anything like that. Okay, well, just so you know, the United States of America, the word state, people generally think, well, I live in the state of Arkansas, I live in the state of California, or I live in the state of New York, or whatever it is, right? And that's the state that you live in. Well, the term state is not just a geographical boundary, the arbitrary geographical boundary that's created by some law or whatever. It's actually you. It's the state of your being. The state, by definition, is the particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. Where you are right now, where you are, wherever you are. It's the state of your being. Okay? So and it's a nation or territory considered as an organized political community under one government. Okay? So when we talk about the state of your being, the United States, that's not Arkansas, Kentucky, California, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, North Dakota, and the South. It's not just those. It's the state of being of every single human being. So, when we talk about rights that have been given to you by God, and that your rights are not bequeathed to you from the Constitution, you don't get rights because, well, this thing says here that I have the right. This declares and announces and enumerates the rights that you have by the fact that you were born, the fact that you have the breath of life that has been put into your lungs. Those are given to you by God. No one can take them away. So, when I hear, Marty, this sounds pretty good there, but I'm up here in the great up north here in Canada, and we ain't got no Bill of Rights. We ain't got no Constitution. Now you do. Declare it. Redeclare your independence. Say, hey, guess what? I have rights that were given to me by God, And if you try to take them away, well, then I know what you are. You're a terrorist. You're terrorizing me. You're trying to say that, no, God didn't breathe the breath of life into your lungs. Put a mask on. You shut your mouth. You stay at home. You quarantine yourself. You shut down your businesses. What about the mortgage companies? Are they going to get shut down? No, those are stay open. But you stay at home. What if I got to eat? Shut your mouth. I'm calling upon all nations to stop these terrorist killers.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
I'm calling upon all nations, all people everywhere that know that God has given you rights. It doesn't matter, this thing. Who cares? God has given you rights, and anyone that tries to take them away from you is a terrorist. So I'm calling upon all nations to stop these terrorist killers. So is George Bush. Guys, war is over if you want it. This war against humanity can be over if you want it. We have the power of the people right now. Right now. To stop this madness. All we have to do is come together and redeclare, reaffirm, announce that we're not going to take it anymore. And if we do this together, you guys know. Let's see if I have it here. We the people have a lot of power. The power is invested in us. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So this war against humanity, this war against your rights, this war against your liberties and your freedoms, this war against your family, this war against your business, war is over if you want it. And all I need is a yay or a nay. That's all I need. That's all anybody needs. Yes or no. Again, I'm going to say this in the comment section below in this video. Every other comment, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you. If you say, "Well, Marty, this is never going to work," okay, just say nay, and then I'll know that I guess you're on the side of the terrorists. Then I'll know that I guess you don't really give a shit about God-given, inherent, intrinsic, natural-born rights. Just let me know. Let everybody know. Announce it proudly so we know exactly who the terrorists are. We want to know what side you're on. Humanity's? God's? Or them? Again, every other comment that's put below this video, anything that says either yay or nay will be deleted. It'll be erased because I don't really care what you have to say. I care about whether you're going to stand up and support your God-given rights and defend them or not. Yay or nay. Every other comment will be deleted. It's in our hands. God bless each and every one of you. Even my enemy. You know? God bless each and every one of you. I love this country. I love the people. I love my freedoms. I love God. And I want to continue to do that. If we let this go, I'm not going to do that. There's not going to be a future for your children or your children's children. Okay? God is giving us a huge door, opening a huge door right now. It's a gorgeous, beautiful, awe-inspiring thing. I wonder who's going to walk through that door. Now, today wasn't out to set some. This video, just so you know, is not out to set some. I'm trying to start some new movement or anything like that. No, not really. All I wanted to do today, and why I called this the most important live stream that I've ever done, is I just want to let you guys know that you have rights, and God gave them to you. That's it. The rest of this video, just a lot of fluff. Really, all it was. It's the most important thing you'll ever know, really. Okay? Guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to go pick up shit. Got to go to the vet, take care of some animals. Why? I love going to work. Sometimes I don't like going to work, but I really love taking care of those animals. I love the people I work with. All those diverse people I work with, the gays and the straights and the religious people, the non-religious people and the Indians and the Venezuelans and the European Americans and all of them. I love them all. And I want to continue to do that. Okay? Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate time. I really appreciate everybody that stops by here. I'm sorry I haven't been in the chat. I had no intention of talking in the chat today just because of everything that was covering, and I wanted to make sure everything I was covering, and I want to make sure that I stay on point. God bless every single one of you. Okay, I love you all. All right, and that's gonna do it for me. Got an opportunity, guys. Take it and run with it. All right, that's gonna do it for me. All right, guys. Many blessings and much love to all.